Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming to our council meeting. And at this time, I'd like to call our meeting to order and offer an invocation. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you again for another day. We thank you for bringing us through this day. We thank you for the gifts that you give us each and every day. We are so fortunate as we look around in our community and around our world to know that even though we all face issues, we face problems, we face uncertainty, we know that you're watching out for us each and every day, and we are so blessed to be in the community that we're in. We know that we fall short each and every day, but we just ask you to forgive us of our sins, continue to lift us up when we're down, continue to watch over our community. We pray for those working in the healthcare industry, those in law enforcement, those that keep our city going and our community going each and every day. So many jobs are so dangerous. So many people take life so lightly, and it can end so quickly over senseless acts. So we just ask that you would grant us the patience, kindness, loyalty to deal with matters in an adult fashion. Help us to know that each and everything that we do, that we are responsible to you in those things. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, our next item is to adopt the business agenda. We do have one item that I've been informed that we will need to table until the next meeting, which is 5B. So with that being said, we'd like for someone, if there are no other conflicts, as it is presented, to make a motion to approve it with the deleting item 5B from the agenda tonight.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we adopt the business agenda with the exception of 5B, that we remove 5B and table that special use permit request from Carolyn Gore until the March 7, 2023 City Council meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Farabee and a second by Councilman Smith. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The agenda will be approved. Anybody signed up for unscheduled tonight? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Item 4 is the council minutes. We have two sets, January 17th and February the 7th, a regular meeting and a work session. If everybody's had an opportunity to read through them, we need a motion to approve them as they are presented.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 17, 2023 regular city council meeting and February 7, 2023 work session minutes as drafted.
All right, we have a motion by Councilwoman Bryant. Is there a second to her motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Farabee. Is there any more discussion on that matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Move on to public hearings now. A zoning map amendment, a rezoning request from the Rural Health Group. I would call on our planning director, Mr. Wise, to come forward for the presentation. Good afternoon, Mr. Wise.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and public. Sorry for the snafu on our thing, but everybody has a presentation, so I'll just kind of refer you guys to turn the page and kind of follow along. So we'll get through this together, okay? So again, good evening, Mayor, Council, and the public. Before Council this evening is a zoning map amendment for your consideration. Here's a brief, so slide 2 in your packets. Here's a brief overview of the subject property to get Council and the public acquainted with this evening. We'll go to slide 3. So this is the process. For those in the public and on Council who may not be familiar with the rezoning process, we have 3 steps to determine the subject property's request for the zoning amendment. The next slide, slide 4. There's page numbers at the bottom.
Y'all see anything on slides?
No,
Are we supposed to be seeing
He
slides?
gave us that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I got it.
So
All right.
Yeah, there's a AV issue here. So.
I'm looking on my screen. Okay,
there's numbers at
Proceed.
the bottom. So page 4 is what we're on right now.
okay.
So in determining the zoning amendment request, you can only consider impacts on from the left column and should not consider any of the four considerations that have been omitted from tonight's hearing that are on the right side. On slide 5, public engagement followed all required deadlines to inform the public of meetings, and all notices encouraged citizens to contact the planning department for information about the request to answer their preliminary questions and concerns. I may add that no one has contacted the department, either by phone, email, or text, so. Slide 6, here's an aerial photo of the subject property. The property is located on Highway 125 and is adjacent to the New Day Fitness Center. Slide 7. Listed here are the 5 committees that will review any site plans that are submitted by the applicant. Slide 8, illustrated here is the current and the requested zoning amendment. Only the B4 is being requested for an amendment to B3. The R40, which is shown in yellow, is not under consideration for the zoning amendment. Slide 9. Illustrated here is the subject property, and it is located in the Chalkiat Creek floodplain. Slide 10. Given that a portion of the subject property is located within the floodplain and that the R40 is not changing the amount of land to be developed as smaller than the full 15 acres. And slide 11, the planning board voted for a no recommendation on January 19th. That vote was 7-3. Staff evaluation. In determining the reasonableness of the applicant's request, these 5 criteria were utilized. In slide 13, for consistency statement, the following 7 items supports the request through the adopted comprehensive development plan. I-1, the rezoning supports infill development. Infill development is development or redevelopment of land that is unused as a result of the continuing urban development process. I.7 provides effective buffering and or landscaping when commercial development adjoins existing or planned residential uses. I-18 utilizes the mixed use areas as a tool to aid in regulating, reducing strip commercialization, stimulate compact development, encourages infill development, reduce strip generation, provide flexible development options, and utilizes existing infrastructure. I-20 encourages developers to utilize thoroughfares and natural topography features to define the boundaries of a neighborhood and concentrate higher intensity uses at the outer boundaries of the neighborhood. I.32 protect, enhance, and encourage a high quality of life, image, and cultural amenities as an effective approach to economic development. I.33, economic development efforts should encourage the revitalization and reuse of currently unused or underutilized structures, sites, and infrastructure in appropriately located areas. Lastly, I.39, actively recruit and retain a younger workforce to the city by supporting diverse, affordable workhouse opportunities. Slide 14. Staff recommendation, based on all the information provided this evening, the recommendations of the staff is in favor of the applicant's request to rezone from B4 commercial to B3 commercial. And slide 15. This concludes my presentation, and if there are no questions of me at this time from council, we can move on to the next phase of receiving public comments, first from the applicant, those in favor, and then hearing from those opposed to the request. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, questions for Mr. Wise?
Not at this time.
You made it, I mean, in your handout, it said the planning board did not make a decision. I mean, they voted, but they voted for no recommendation, is that?
That is correct.
And the staff made the recommendation for approval, is that?
That is
okay.
correct, sir, Mayor, sorry. The planning board meeting had, a series of small things that pile on top of each other. We didn't have audio that evening, so it was hard to hear. A motion that was made, didn't follow the text of our staff handout that evening, and so it got rushed through. A second got done, and then they took a vote with no discussion, and then it became a she said thing. It just was a series of small things that we were rectifying for the next meeting on the 16th, as I informed Mr. Smith of this evening. So some of the topics for that planning board meeting was more concerned about building height, quality, which is what we were not there for. It was just for the rezoning from B4 commercial, which is wide, down to B3 so that they could build some type of housing that will fit their needs. And I'll let Mr. Perneski address those in his presentation to you. So.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add that we've had this occur at times before where the planning board would not or did not give a recommendation. And so it shouldn't impact, I guess, your decision, like, because the planning or the city council makes its own decision concerning, or the final decision, and doesn't always have to follow the planning boards. So this has happened before, and a lot of times it is because of indecision or some conflict on a matter, but have reviewed the request, and I'm in support of the planning board, or the planning staff recommendation for approval based on my review of the zoning request.
This,
To
Okay,
open the
I'm
public
sorry,
hearing?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
I would just say it would be appropriate now to open the public hearing for input. So with that being said, anyone who would like to speak on the matter, come forward, and if you would, state your name and where you live. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Perneski. I'm the CFO with Rural Health Group. And my CEO and my COO have joined me tonight. And I'll let them speak a little bit more to the company. As far as the zoning goes, we are trying to develop a residency program in conjunction with ECU. And we currently are having issues finding enough housing for the residents and stuff, and so we wanted to put residents like condos there so we could house those residents when they would come, and we're hoping for our residency program to be up and running in 2024, and we've started that work on that line.
Okay, I have a question, I guess, for the city manager. We're looking, am I correct in that this is the one we're going from B4 to B3?
Yes, sir.
And we can have housing in B3?
Multifamily housing is allowed in a B3 district.
Okay, okay.
Along with other uses, primarily non-retail uses like medical offices, services that are less intense than a B4 use.
How, if I may, and this would be to the city manager more so than you, sir. How would this tie in with what was being looked at a little further down the highway in relation to the and I'll call it, for lack of a term, Gregory properties? And it's no longer that, but just to try to get everybody up to par as to where that is.
They're in the same general vicinity, referring to the property that was previously owned by Masukai, part of the Cross Creek, and this is a separate application and a separate property. And we don't have any updates on that potential development there. And that was for an R3 zoning, but this here is property owned that's been purchased by Rural Health Group, and the requested B3 zoning would accommodate medical offices, it would accommodate multifamily housing. And so the purpose under a rezoning hearing is to think about the potential uses and not as much the the site design and things like that. That's where the plan reviews come in.
Unrelated to what we're doing because it has no effect. This is just a general question. And again, this is for, it sounded like you say for housing for your residency program, or are we talking about, and it has no relation to what but I just was curious.
Yeah, so that was our main intention is for our students that would be coming in. We also, when we have doctors fill in, we need temporary housing for them. And so this would also help us serve that purpose too, why we look for full-time practitioners.
Would this serve employees at the hospital also, or would it just be for rural health?
Currently, it would only be for rural health, but the residents would probably be also residents at ECU. So they would probably be a little bit of both in a way.
How many units are you planning to construct?
We were looking at 2 units essentially of maybe 10 condos in each.
If I could just make a comment, if we have additional comments, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, we are looking at a rezoning, not what somebody's gonna put on the rezoning. Is that correct?
That's correct. You've got to consider all potential uses that are
Okay.
allowed in the zoning district, and as Mayor Pro Tem Farabee had mentioned about the nearby process that we had gone under, the Cross Creek and the Mizuki one was under a special use permit process because of the way that initial development was created. So we did talk a lot more specifics about the intended use, and as part of a traditional rezoning process, it's a legislative decision. It's about the zoning district and all permissible uses that would be allowed in that district. And so while it's okay to kind of talk a little bit about what may be developed, it's important to focus on everything that could be, and any rezoning decisions cannot be related. We cannot attach any conditions or make any special request as part of that final decision in the outcome of the matter.
Well, and I'll say too, of course, and I think David made reference to this, that even once this is approved, if the council sees fit to approve the rezoning, that doesn't mean that that's the city's last involvement before something gets built out there. It still has to go through the normal planning and permitting process that any other construction has to do, regardless of what it was zoned at the time the property was purchased or not, or whether it comes for rezoning or not. So it's not going to be the last time that the city has some involvement in the planning process and you know, the nature of that site plan and what their intended construction is. But the city manager is correct. You know, the focus of this needs to be on all possible uses under that zoning classification if the council sees fit to grant the rezoning. So.
Isn't this happening across the nation though, that professionals now are having to have somewhere to come in to stay 2 or 3 weeks and then move out? It's not just something that happens overnight. I think a lot of people across the country are having to build units for people to come into. And if we want professional people in town, we're gonna have to think about it.
Housing is a significant need, and we have a significant need, especially for temporary housing, because there's not much stock available. There's not many options, especially for multifamily. When we say multifamily, that's a term used to describe, you know, multiple individual families, whether it be one person or their relatives in one particular living unit. And so it is a significant need, and our local employers are experiencing the hardships of trying to recruit employees and not having a place really with there's a lot of limited options as far as where people can live. The city, we experience it ourselves in recruiting employees, and so companies are looking at options. So a lot of them are saying, well, we're going to provide housing. And so this is a model that is being used. And in city council's consideration, we want to think about those potential uses, but we cannot make a decision that is based upon whether or not who would be renting it, would they own it, we can't consider or limit housing choice, whether it's for their needs or serving a community need, because ultimately it serves the community.
Again, my reasoning for questioning and or making a statement at all is that I knew we were looking at some other properties a little ways up the road, and we got B3, R3, R12, B4, R20, and wanted to make sure that we weren't, I don't want to say that word, but about spot, but zoning or whatever. And I know we're not, but I just wanted to make sure that that was being considered whenever we were looking at this. And I'm sure you guys looked at that, Mr. Wise.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a down zoning, technically.
Sure.
So less impactful than if it was going from B3 to B4.
Sure.
But, I take your point in that, so we are careful about that.
Okay.
If there are no more questions, did you say the ladies would like to speak? If you would come to the microphone, please. Thank you.
The only thing that I would add, and Councilman Smith, I think, alluded to that, and that is we've been able to attract providers that we ordinarily would not be able to attract to this area through offering housing assistance. And so it is imperative for us, if you guys would consider this as a serious issue for us. There is an employment issue in the area. The Great Resignation hit Rural Health Group and everyone in this area. And the only way we've been able to get providers of choice physicians is by offering this as an option. We've been doing it in other manners, but now we see the need to actually have additional housing. So it is quite an attraction to providers as we recruit them, that we have the ability to provide for them temporary housing, because oftentimes they don't live in the community, but they want to serve this kind of community. So we appreciate your consideration.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And if you would, for the clerk, would you state your name?
Yvonne Long G.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the matter tonight before we close the public hearing? Okay, with that being said, I move that the public hearing be closed. And according to our workbook, if you look on page 5 of 6, we'll find some information to help us move forward.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to add that as part of a legislative rezoning decision, rezoning requires a consideration of a statement of consistency that is intended to help to identify the land use plan policies that support or reject the requested zoning amendment. And so your first action would be consideration of the statement of consistency, and then followed by a final decision on the matter.
Okay, is everybody find the work page? Page 5 of 6. Okay, as city manager said, we need a motion or to vote on the statement of consistency.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve and adopt the presented statement of consistency to amend the zoning map to a commercial district for Halifax County Parcel 1203756, described in the staff report dated February the 21st, 2023, and I guess that's going to R3, is that right? B3. Okay.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Farabee and a second by Councilman Smith. Is there any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion will be approved. So we will move down to the final decision.
I would like to make a motion to approve an amendment to the Roanoke Rapids zoning map to change the zoning classification of Halifax County parcel 1203756 to B3 Commercial District. The property is located on Old Farm Road South as described in the staff report dated February the 21st, 2023.
I second the motion.
Okay, again, we have a motion by Councilman Farabee and a second by Councilman Smith. Any more discussion on this motion? All in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and all opposed, no. The motion will be approved also. And,
Just like to state for the audience's knowledge that the rezoning request was approved to change the zoning, and that's effective upon adoption, so immediately. And for the folks with Rural Health Group here, a letter will be sent out to reflect that decision to confirm the zoning for you.
all right. Thank the council and thank you all for your presentation. Okay, under item 6, under new business, I call on Ralph Johnson and Ms. Wells, Christina Wells, for a presentation on the airport.
So I'd like to thank the council for having us here. I'm the chairman of the Airport Authority, and what we found was when the airport first got started by legislation, certain rules were set out for us, and one of them was the amount of time we could lease property for a hangar. And right now it's set at 25 years. Well, as our airport grows, we had an individual that's come here that wants to set up a maintenance shop for aircraft, also a paint shop and an avionics shop. Well, that's a big investment, close to $250,000 for a building that he wants to have and invest in the community. 25 years is very short to that type of investment. The FAA says that an airport should have maybe 50 years. And what we're looking at ourselves and what this individual is looking at is a lease agreement that we could have for maybe 40 years with maybe a 10-year extension at the end. So what we're here for, and I'm going to let Ms. Wells explain what we're looking for is a resolution from the city to have the legislature change some of the rules that we have to follow, and that's what it's for. So I'm going to let Ms. Wells explain some of the things, and we'll answer your questions also.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
We presented a similar resolution last night at the Halifax County Board of Commissioners meeting. And after we speak with you, we'll be seeking support also from the Northampton County Board of Commissioners. As you will see, you do have a copy of the resolution in front of you? Or no? You do? Okay. So as you will see, the enabling legislation for the what was the Halifax Roanoke Rapids Airport Authority was completed in 1997. As you know, we have gone through a few iterations, not only of the actual airport authority, but of the airport itself since 1997, and have grown into a much more modern facility. And clearly the way that the airport is able to grow and develop is primarily through the use of hangar leases and land leases. So as Chairman Johnson said, we have on the table a potential lease for our first commercial land lease. We currently have 3 land leases that are for private hangars that are larger than the hangars the airport has constructed itself. So this would be our first commercial endeavor. And as he also stated, the investment on such an endeavor is quite significant. And so a lease of a longer period of time as compared to what we had in 1997 is definitely warranted, so that this individual feels that he has more time for return on his investment. So we're really asking for 3 things, 3 points. One is to allow the airport authority's leasing to
not have to follow Article 12 of Chapter 160A, which treats longer-term leases more like sales of property. And that really doesn't work for a model like the Airport Authority. The other considerations are that we want to be able to extend leases that are at least up to 40 years. And as Chairman Johnson also referred, the FAA is comfortable with leases as long as up to 50 years. So we have checked with airport regulations as well to make sure that we're complying and moving in the correct direction. And we did do some research prior to our request in that other airports, such as the Raleigh Executive Jetport in Lee County, has recently undergone the same situation. So this is not an unusual request. And we have also asked our legislators, Representative Michael Ray and Senator Bobby Hainig, we've made them aware of our request. And what we want to do is present a united joint resolution so that they know that the three sponsoring governments are on board with the authority in making these changes. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
I got one question for you. Is the sponsorship that we have now with them, is it gonna increase our,
No, it's no,
Yes, sir.
nothing, as far as financial, there's no change.
Who will own the building if this moves forward? Will the man that wants to have the business own it, or is the county gonna build it and lease it to him, or how's that gonna work?
It's gonna be an individual, the one that wants to build the building. Michael Overton is his name. He already had a hangar there that he built for his own use. He wanted to start, painting airplanes, and of course, that type of lease agreement, you can't do commercial work. So he decided to go ahead and build a maintenance hangar. And we don't have a lease agreement that, addresses businesses. So the only thing we do have is a 25-year lease, which is not acceptable for the type of investment that he wants.
I guess I have one more question. Is he gonna be leasing the land from the county, or is he leasing it from the landowner, or is the county leasing it?
It's the airport authority that he leases it
Okay.
from. And that's the footprint of the building. The other hangars right now that are built individually, Jeff Heaton has one, Mason Price has one, and Michael Overton had one, and he actually sold it to, Mike,
Marvin Sharon.
Marvin Sharon, I couldn't say his name quick enough. But, they lease the footprint of the building, and that's 20 cents a square foot. It's not a lot, but with a business, it's gonna be 30 cents a square foot, and that'll be $2,400 a year.
And you all own, the county owns the property?
No, the airport authority.
Airport.
Well, I'm sorry, that's what so I don't know, in my mind, originally, I was thinking it was gonna be a private person and we were gonna be leasing it from them, but the airport authority owns the property.
The
Okay,
airport authority owns the property.
okay, I understand what you're doing.
And that's part of our income is leasing property and hangar rent.
Okay.
Hangars that we own, like T hangars that we keep private planes in, we own the hangars, but the land itself, we lease the property so that they can build a building on it.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I got, at the end of the 40 years or the 50 years, does the hangar become the property of the, airport authority?
Yes, it does.
Or he can't tear it down and carry it away then?
Either he could tear it down and restore the land like it was before, or the hangar reverts over to the airport. And then if we wanted to, we could lease it to that individual or someone else.
You gonna go out there, Wayne, and see when they take it down 50
Nope.
years from now?
At 50, I don't think I'll be here in 50 years.
We're planning ahead.
I guess,
Everybody else, Carl?
I guess for clarity, I'm looking at this resolution that you're looking at, it's to support, and it's actually basically from 25 to 40 years.
Correct.
40 years, not greater than 40.
No, we're changing our
25 to 40.
right.
Okay.
That we're changing our top number from 25 to 40. We wanted to stay just shy of the FAA recommendation. They really don't recommend any leases longer than 50 years. This would allow us to enter an initial lease for a 40-year term or anything below that, and possibly have an extension if warranted.
But again, this is 25 to 40.
Correct.
Okay.
Somebody help me now. We need a motion on
Yeah,
that?
we
I'm not
do.
looking, okay.
You wanna do-
Ask for a motion at this time, then.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to consider the adopting the joint resolution supporting the amending enabling legislative of the Halifax Northampton Regional Airport Authority to build, accumulate long a lease term, accommodate long a lease term.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Smith and a second by Councilwoman Bryant. Is there any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll give the copy from the clerk.
I call on the Finance Director, Ms. Johnson, for consideration to accept the fiscal year audit report.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
So, new business, Greg Redmond was here last meeting, went it through the audit. So I'm asking you to consider to accept the fiscal year 21-22 audit report.
Anybody have any questions of the Finance Director? If not, we need a motion to accept the audit report.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2021-22 audit report.
Okay, motion by Mr. Stainback,
Second.
second by Mr. Farabee. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion will be approved. Thank you. I call on Ms. Trainum for consideration of the city ordinance amending chapter 30 in relation to our meetings.
Yes, during our work session earlier this month, it was basically a general consensus of the city council members to go back to a schedule of having 2 regular meetings a month in lieu of having a work session on the first Tuesday and a regular meeting on the third Tuesday. The city council has kind of gone back and forth with this over the years, and so in order to have the 2 regular meetings, and an amendment to the Code of Ordinances is required that discusses the time and place of the city council meetings. So in order to have the first and third meetings being first and third Tuesdays of the month as regular meetings, we ask that you adopt ordinance number 2023.01 to modify the city code to make that change.
Does anybody have any questions of the manager before we call for a vote? If not, we need a motion to approve this.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2023.01, amending chapter 30, section 30.16 of the city of Roanoke Rapids Code of Ordinances.
All right, we have a motion by Councilwoman Bryant. Here,
I'll
second. And a second by Mr. Farabee.
No, that was
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought,
Councilman Stanley.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Councilman Stainback, second the motion. Is there any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, no. That would be approved. Your report, Ms. Trainor?
Yes, sir. Good evening again, Mayor and Council. The City of Roanoke Rapids is a participating jurisdiction in the recently established Roanoke Area Housing Consortium. And that is all of the jurisdictions, or most all of them, that within Bertie County, Halifax, Hertford, Martin, and Northampton counties. The City Council adopted a resolution to be a part of that initial conception of it, and I guess Christina Wells has just stepped out, but she came to us back in November of 21 to describe it. But this consortium, as it was created, was approved by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. And so the consortium is about it's a federally funded home investment partnership program. And so it's a multi-year endeavor. And so There's a public input or a community input session scheduled for Tuesday, February the 28th at the Cooperative Extension Auditorium in Halifax, and that's from 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. There is a flyer in your packet, in your binders, that advertises this community input meeting that's next week. Additionally, there is a public survey that is online survey available, that area residents are invited to share it and to take this short survey that's available online through www.surveymonkey.com/r/Choanoke-community. And Choanoke is CHOANOKE, and then dash community, and I say that for those listening perhaps on YouTube right now. Public input is a critical component of this, and the Home Consortium program is about improving housing, existing housing, and revitalizing neighborhoods. This program has been very successful in the area of Greenville, North Carolina, and the west side of Greenville between East Carolina University and the hospital, where this particular opportunity does allow for rental homes and not just owner-occupied homes to take advantage of the federal funds. And so the public input session is one of the first steps in this consolidated plan process that will eventually detail the strategies and funding opportunities for home improvements. The fiscal year 23-24 budget, our planning is underway. Finance Director Carmen Johnson, who missed out on this part of it last year prior to her employment, she and her staff have been conducting the individual departmental meetings right now, so she could gain some knowledge on their specific needs, and they're discussing the needs, the revenue sources, and identifying some cost conservation measures that would apply across all departments. We will have the departmental budgeting presentations with City Council, and during our next meeting, we'll propose a calendar with the schedule of those meetings so that Council can have the benefit of hearing from the department heads about what their needs are. The projections for state collected local government revenues are expected to be published by the League of Municipalities in April. We don't know if we'll get them sooner, but those forecasts will be provided in a later time. But at this point, we know what the majority of the needs are. And also the Rural Partners Network, or RPN, program that the city has been selected a part of with Halifax and Northampton County. Kickoff meeting was held earlier this month via Zoom, and last week I participated in a meeting at Halifax Community College, and their next meeting is Wednesday, March the 1st at HCC. What we learned last week is that the Rural Partners Network is looking for very specific projects to be recommended from participating jurisdictions. They want them to have a lot of impact, and they recommend using the SMART approach, which is the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely proposals for specific projects. So they want to see cost estimates and construction timelines, and in developing project proposals, the questions that they want to have addressed be to identify the community or economic development need, what are the results that we'd like to see, who are the beneficiaries of it, what are the expected outcomes, what resources do we need, whether it's money or staff, information, materials. Is there anything being done right now that is similar? And also to ask who else may be working on this and who are the potential partners involved. And so as we are working on our budgets and knowing the needs of the city, we're asking for any information on potential projects that we could submit. Additionally, the registration opened today for the League of Municipalities City Vision 2023 conference. It will be in Concord, North Carolina this year, from April 25th to April 27th. The early bird registration fee is available through March the 6th. I will send a reminder of this opportunity out to you. And if you're interested in it and would like for us to register for you or assist with that, please let me know. Last year, Mayor Dowdy and Mayor Pro Tem Farabee and I attended the City Vision Conference when it was held in Wilmington, and it's very beneficial hearing from other leaders in other communities and the things that are going on and their successes, and hearing about the challenges, and it's a good learning experience. And so I ask that you all consider attending the City Vision Conference if your schedule allows. Mayor Dowdy has asked for the department heads to give brief reports, so I will defer the rest of my time for updates from staff.
Okay, you want to just start with Mr. Wise? And we'd like to hear from you, but I would ask you to keep in mind the brief word.
So I'm only going to provide 4 brief updates for the
Okay.
planning department. First is the biggest one, so OpenGov, which has been a project that's been underway for the last 8 months. We're going to live on March 1st, and that is live online permitting. So that's something that you guys approved last year to fund. So we're very excited about this change of service delivery. So the response has been positive. We held a workshop here last week on that topic. We've advertised it on our social media, the pages and responses that we tell people when they come in for a permit, that we've converted the permit room, and this is one of the laptops that they'll use, and we have another workstation where they'll come in and they'll actually type their permit in. We'll assist them if needed to create the account and do that. They'll be able to track their permit through the entire process and be able to pay online. So we're very excited about that and being competitive with other communities for that. So that's number 1. 2, we're just kind of providing inspection services to the town of Weldon while they're still going through their transition. We have billed them $663 for our staff time, so we're not providing a free service for that, but we're assisting them where they need help. Number 3 is the 4-bay strip mall out on Premier Boulevard, where the Shell building has gone up. There are 4 retail spaces. There's a Chipotle coming in, an Aspen Dental, and an AT&T, and the 4th retailer is unknown at this time, and some subcontractors have already pulled permits to do interior work, so that it's moving along as well. And currently our housing, since that was a topic earlier, we have 11 single-family dwellings being built at the Appleberry Court, Winterberry Lane, and the Cross Creek subdivision. They're in various stages of construction, and we have one that's just about ready to receive a certification of occupancy. And with that, I'm going to conclude if there are no questions.
That was very informative. I appreciate it very
Thank
much.
you.
Does anybody have any questions?
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Wise.
Do you want me to do my financial report also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So for the period ending January 31st, the general fund year-to-date revenues were at 12.2 million, about 60.2% of the budget, and for the prior year, this was about 68.4, which is slightly above this year, but that's due to a higher budget amount. The year-to-date expenditures as of January 31st, 2023 were around 10.3 million, which is about 50.9% of the adopted budget. And for the prior year, it was 9.6 million, which is about 57.9% of the adopted budget. Ad valorem collections are higher for the month of January, mostly due to the assessments or, for penalties. People were trying to avoid the penalties for late payment. Do you have any questions about that?
I don't have any questions. I know that looks a lot better than it did early in the year when we were upside down, so to speak.
Right.
Okay.
So do you feel we're on track with where we need to be?
I do. I looked at it earlier today, and sales tax is 2 months behind. So we just got our December sales tax, and so I think we're on track. Also, and Tammy Fahey helped me too, but we looked at the utilities franchise tax. We'll get another payment March and another payment in June. So we feel good about that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
And I just add, like Kelly said, we're in the beginning stages, working on the budget. I've started meeting with the department heads just to go over so I can learn and understand more what their needs are, their capital needs. So, we're just starting that process.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chalker?
Good evening, everybody. You have our monthly report in your packet that looks like this. I'll just add a few things to that. We are just about finished. We are trying our best to finish with leaf season. There is a few more leaves out there, but we hope to get those up pretty quickly. And leaf season will come to an end, and then we can start cutting grass again. A quick update on the Southgate project from some of the earmarked funds. Our engineering firm that we chose to do this project, Matt Gay Associates from Rocky Mount, they have been negotiating with Halifax County, and they're actually going to administer this entire project. So they're going to handle the bid process, the grant items, and even close the grant out at the end of it. So they have reached, or they're in the middle of reaching that agreement with Halifax County. If you remember, the funds were allotted to Halifax County for us to make use of, and so Halifax County is writing the checks. And so we get the invoice, we approve it, we send it to the county, and they pay it. So that's kind of how it works. So we're pretty excited about that. We may even have public advertisement for bids in this Sunday's newspaper. That was on a call right before I came up here with the engineering firm. So we're trying to get it back up to speed and get some dirt moving and some asphalt put down on the street over there. For Gov Deals, for the last auction, yes, sir.
Can I back up? Any
Please.
time frame on that project as far as starting, completion, and or
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then once it's started, it'll be what, 6 months, a year, or what? Do you have an idea?
I would hope to say it will be maybe 3 or 4 months,
Okay.
but it depends on what these larger firms are doing now and when they come to a finish on that. So once we start taking the bid and we award the bid, then we'll be able to give you a more definitive answer on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't mean to fluff you on that, but I don't know just yet
That's fine.
what to say about that. As soon as possible, though. For Gov Deals, we sold 18 units this time. Some of them had to go back up for auction twice because either the bidder defaulted or we just didn't get bids for something, or we didn't get the minimum bid. I put a minimum bid on some things. But all total, we collected $37,000 for 18 units, which is really good, I think. That goes right back into the general fund. And there was one vehicle that was a drug seizure from the police department, so they'll get those funds back. That's part of that deal. But I was really proud of that number, and it was a good, well-performing auction. That's all I have outside the report. I'll take any other questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chalk. Mr. Simeon?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. To start with Challenger Restrooms, we are currently in the design phase. We're quickly moving out of the design phase and moving into the construction phase. The current time frame for installation is scheduled for mid to late May. I will keep you abreast on if there are any changes regarding that. The swing set should be delivered any day. We are prepped and waiting for them for installation. I anticipate that to be there within the next week or two. The Aquatic Center, we're closed this week. We're doing several maintenance issues and items there. We're painting the locker rooms. We're upgrading our locker room lights to LEDs. And we also have some heater repair work that needs to be done. I hadn't talked to you since we discussed Chris Wicker and naming rights. I worked with the family to select a day to do that. It is scheduled for May 13th. which is Mother's Day weekend, which makes Jan Wicker a very happy mother, that her whole family will be here not only for Mother's Day, but for also to see the unveiling for Chris. Kirkwood, the restrooms have been completed. We have received several compliments. For instance, the chamber has had an event there, and we got a lot of positive feedback regarding the restrooms. Unfortunately, over the weekend, one of our hot water heaters broke here in Lloyd Andrews. We had water on the floor. I anticipate that may be some of the reason that our screens are not working properly. I'll continue to look into that. We have switched over to Zoom, and if you'll be patient, we're kind of working through some of those with the audio.
Switch to YouTube.
To YouTube, excuse me. We switched from Zoom to YouTube. Thank you. And so we're just kind of working through the kinks. We have new microphones, but we'll get all that adjusted. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I do have one, if I may, for clarity on the calendar project. It sounded like the end of May was scheduled completion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And at this point, you've already moved the shelter and just kind of waiting
Correct.
for the.
Correct.
Okay.
And yeah, we're prepped, ready to go.
Okay.
John, what was the scope of the work that was done in the restrooms at Kirkwood Adams?
At Kirkwood, we replaced sinks, toilets, light fixtures, partitions, backsplash, mirrors, painted and redid all of the flooring in there.
So the toilets were replaced?
Yes, sir. The toilets were replaced.
Okay.
The urinals in the men's room were not replaced due to their age. When they were removed, there was a lot of plumbing that would have had to have been done to accommodate a newer urinal, so those were not done.
Okay.
So-
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Is the foundation already been laid for the work out there? The restrooms?
Well, the foundation will actually be a rock base, because the foundation of the restroom will actually be a solid cement slab that they come in and lay down over the rock base.
Okay,
So
slab, you said it was all.
okay, excuse me, the cement slab is still there. We will not take that up, and I've been discussing that with Mr. Chalker and asking for some assistance with taking that up. But we don't want to take it up too soon so that we have erosion and everything else go on over there. So we want to kind of keep it in place until we get a little bit closer.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief Martin?
Mayor, Council, want to talk with you briefly about a few things that the police department has had going on since the first of this year. So far this year, we've answered over 2,100 calls since the 1st of January. And just to give you a comparison, last year at this time, we were at 1,800. Our foot patrols, we have implemented with our new PACE officer that we got through our COPS grant, we have implemented more foot patrols. Last year at this time, we were right at 69. Since the first of this year, we've been almost 200 foot patrols. That means that we get out of our vehicles, go in and visit the citizens in the neighborhoods, the businesses. We get out and we do business checks, front, back, and things like that. So we have definitely increased our foot patrols, getting our officers out of the vehicles and this gives them a chance to get to know the public and the business owners a little bit better and the residents of the community. We've also, we have ramped up our training. We feel that having well-trained officers will better serve the citizens of Roanoke Rapids. Last year at this time, we were only at 164 training hours. This year so far, we are at 368. And we're getting ready to start our annual in-service training this month, which can be conducted over the next 3 weeks. And I want to contribute that to my admin staff, Mike Mosley, Gorton Williams, and Jamie Hardy. They have really ramped up making sure that our officers are getting training and that we have well-trained officers for the citizens of Roanoke Rapids. Vehicle collisions, last year we were at 81. This year right now we're at 75, which means we've responded to 75 collisions since the first of the year. A little bit of a difference in that, which is good. We don't ever want to have a lot of collisions, and we're going to attribute that to more enforcement and things like that our officers are doing. And of course, that goes with the PACE officer position as well. We've been able to start doing more checking stations and things like that incorporate speed and other violations. And for our criminal investigations, thus far this year, we have had 42 cases assigned. Last year at this time, we were at 20. It's an uptick in the cases that have been assigned, but, we contribute that to an uptick in some of the crimes that have been occurring. And I know that you have recently read about one of our major crimes that just occurred in reference to 2 of our local businesses and heavy equipment being damaged severely by juveniles. You have the rest of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Bobby, just a comment. You mentioned that you all have been putting in more hours in training. I know this council, we as a community and as a country, the police have had a lot of negative comments made about them in the last few years. Is your training that you're doing as much geared towards teaching the officers about how to deal with difficult situations as it is to protecting themselves, is what I'm asking.
Yes,
I
sir.
know I feel like I'm speaking for the council and what we want. If I'm not, somebody can say something, but that's what I'm trying to ask you.
Well, everything that we're doing has been brought out into the public eye in regards to the different types of training that officers receive. So, and a lot of it came through under Senate Bill 300, okay? And what we've done is we've geared our training to better prepare our officers for what has been laid out before, so that we don't run into situations that have happened across the United States. And I feel that our officers receiving this training are going to make them better equipped to handle certain situations. So yes, sir, we have really geared it up to help with diversity training, with de-escalation training. We're handling all that at this point in time.
Thank you. Mr. Hall? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Snuck over here. Just
Must have
trying
been
to speed
hiding.
things up for
You
you
must have
guys.
been hiding.
Yeah, I was hiding over here behind Mr. Wise.
Supper getting cold.
Council, mayor, citizens, I'm just gonna give you a quick update on the fire department. Of course, like everybody else, we've been having shortages within people leaving, going to other jobs and everything. So back in January, we tested. We did have 4 applicants. We went through the physical agility testing with them. One of them was able to get everything done in time because we were working with a very short window to get them into the fire academy. So we were able to get that one in. One of the gentlemen we offered a job to before we could get him confirmed. He actually accepted a job with another fire department north of us. So unfortunately, we lost out on him, and he was a certified member that could have went right on the truck. And then there are 2 more that we're currently working with, trying to get them or trying to help them get what they need to be able to go to the academy, hopefully in the future academies that we have. And of course, we're still accepting applications all year. So if you know anybody who's interested and thinks they want to be a fireman or may want to, please have them come out and get an application either online or from Ms. Cottle. Some other things we're doing our annual testing of fire trucks. Every year they have to be serviced and tested pump-wise and certified for ISO purposes, just to make sure they're safe for our firemen and our citizens to perform the job that they do. Coming up in March, we're gonna start with our hose testing, and then as soon as we finish that, we'll be rolling right into hydrants. Of course, you probably saw a post by the sanitary district. They usually get ahead of us doing what they have to do to service the hydrants, and then we come behind them and get our readings, which we normally do. And so we'll be probably getting started with our hydrant testing about April. And of course, we will put it out to the media and let everyone know so they can be sure to check the water and we don't mess anybody's clothes up washing clothes or anything. Also, Chief Hux has been working on our second annual Veterans Breakfast. I think a couple of you may have attended it last year. It was a very big hit. The veterans really enjoyed it. And every time I see them, they're asking if we were going to do it again this year. We are planning to do that again. Right now, it's scheduled for May the 5th, which is the first Friday in May. And I think it's going to be moved. We're going to end up moving it to the Civic Center because we're expecting it to grow. But that was something that was very appreciative of the veterans, and so we'll put more advertisement out and let you guys know as it gets closer. And last but not least, I invite all y'all to our training grounds for the next 3 days. You can come by. We'll be there from 9 until I think we're thinking we'll probably get cleaned up about 4. We're doing our annual live burn training over at our containers, the live burn boxes over on Henson Street. So any of you the next 3 days come by. We'll be glad to show you inside the boxes and let you see what your firefighters done, because everything that was done over there pretty much was either done by the firemen or some of Mr. Chalker's guys, which saved the city a tremendous amount of money to be able to put that together. So I invite any of y'all to come by and take a look if you like. Subject to any questions, that's all I have.
You heard anything from the fire trucks?
I actually talked to the salesman at the Chiefs Conference a couple weeks ago, and we're about like we were. He's saying about 18 months. I did talk to another salesman while I was up there from another fire truck manufacturer, and he's saying they're telling their people now 30 to 36. It's I don't know. I do have some good news. Our radios that we ordered, I think Chief Cook told me today that the estimated shipping date on those are March 17th, I believe it is. So we do have a little positive coming out of that, but as far as the fire truck goes, I'm being told probably, September 2024? August, September 2024 right now. I'm holding out hope that things will get them moving a little bit quicker, and maybe they'll be here quicker than what they're telling us. But any more questions?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Hall?
Mayor, Council, you have in your packet the report. I will draw attention that we do have some updates. Our stuff is finally coming in that we have ordered for the 1026 space, our new benches. We still are expecting some more to come in any day, so we're excited about that. Our self-watering planters have come in. They came in Friday, so we're making progress with that. The artists seem to be on track with the murals, which has been a task within itself to get that taken care of. So we're moving forward with that. In March 1st, we will open up the incentive program for the Uptown Historic Building Rehabilitation. That is going to be an application process. We felt like that was the fairest way in order to disperse those funds. So the business owner, property owner can apply to that. Those grants will top out. It will be a matching grant up to a certain percentage. So we're excited to get that going. Also, a fundraiser is set for March the 17th, our annual Shamrock Supper box. This year we're working in conjunction with the Arts Council. So we brought them on to help us with that. So you'll be getting more information about that in your packet for next month, and then I draw your attention to social media for that as well. I will leave it at that unless you have some questions.
I have a comment I'd like to add. Would like to bring to your attention that the Main Street program did receive its national accreditation. Okay, never mind. Christina will give more information. So,
We have to wait for the official thing before we
Oh,
can
okay.
say that, so.
They didn't tell me I couldn't
Disregard
say that.
Disregard that until we, you didn't hear that until we get the, official, now I'm nervous. Disregard what that statement until we get the official statement that says that, but, hopefully we're in good shape. Yes, I know.
I'm proud of the work
What-
that Tony Hall and with the help of Christina Cottle did in order to come up with a future surprise here.
What is the match you said on the uptown building rehabilitation?
It's gonna be a 75% match from the fund and 25% match from the business owner, which will stretch those dollars further. So if you're looking to do a $10,000 project, and there are guidelines to follow that goes along with historic rehabilitation and along with our own city's guidelines to follow the cityscape plan, then that should be able, these will be some good exterior projects that maybe, we do have a lot of struggling business owners. And I think this money is going to be a huge help to them.
But my question was, let's just say somebody wanted to do $100,000. Well, 75,000. I mean, how much is the match that the city will put in
The maximum would be $10,000
for the city, and then the owner would put in
if they wanted to do-
2,500?
Well, yes, if
Okay.
they wanted to do $100,000 project, they can apply, but all we're going to be able to give is the $10,000.
To 10,000. Okay, that's what I was
We're
asking.
trying to lead them not to do half projects, so make sure that this money that you're getting is going to be able to be a good exterior project to carry to completion. What we don't want to have happen is paint one floor of your building, but don't paint the second floor. So, that is what we're trying to achieve.
And this is money that came from North Carolina, not the
Yes.
federal government,
Yes. This
which
is-
came from the legislature?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right,
I
thank
don't think so. Thank you. Ms. Caldwell?
Feel a little short at this new podium. I apologize. Everyone can hear me, right? You have my monthly report in front of you, and I'm happy to answer any questions related to that information. But I wanted to take the time tonight to just kind of update you on what I presented to you, I think in early December. As of today, we currently have 151 full-time employees. That's a net gain of 3 since I last spoke to you. I say that with caution because even though we do currently still have a net gain and we're better positioned as far as filling vacancies compared to this time last year, we are experiencing a slightly higher turnover rate over the last 60 days. An example is since January 1st, we've hired 7 full-time people, but we've lost 6. That's not great. And especially when we're losing people in that 3 to 5 year mark. So we're losing experienced people that we have invested into, and so that's not ideal. Currently, our advertised vacancies in full-time employment with us is the athletic fields maintenance position in our Parks and Rec department, a certified police officer, a firefighter, also in Parks and Rec, our recreation center supervisor, and then within our public works department, a street maintenance worker position. The majority of these positions have been advertised externally and internally for over 90 days. We do receive applications. What happens after that really just depends on the situation. Jason touched on with the fire department, they did have applicants, some that passed the physical agility test, and then from there they still couldn't qualify to be hired. So we're looking at that. We're trying to figure out what we can and cannot do to fill these positions. But I just wanted you to be aware that a lot of these vacancies have been vacant for quite some time now. Back in December, when we had our last opportunity to present in front of you, I mentioned that for the last calendar year, my department's been collecting exit interviews. So now we officially have a full 12 months of data. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, since January 1st, we've had an uptick in people leaving, so we are still collecting that. and we'll still analyze that data. And part of our budget process will really be using our findings to sort of formulate better decisions about what we can do for our employees that are currently working for us. Other things that we need to look at as part of the budget process is the information that we've been receiving from our current valued employees. Their feedback is invaluable to the decisions that my department makes, what the city administration does, and especially what you guys do. So I want to make sure that you're aware of those things to help with making decisions. Also, the North Carolina League of Municipalities puts out a ton of information that we should be using regularly to make informed decisions. Two things that my department will use as part of our budget recommendations will be the annual salary survey. So that was released about 4 weeks ago, and that basically any responding municipality provides salary information for all full-time positions. They also, every other year, do a fringe benefits survey, and those results should be released to all of the league members by the end of this month. And information in there include all benefits and cost of living adjustments, things like that. So once we have all of that data together, my hope is that the information that I present to you will help you guys make very good informed decisions for our current employees to help retain them, and also in an effort to better recruit new employees. Pending any questions, that completes my report.
If I may, Mayor, I have a couple of quick questions. One, what is considered a full house? You say we had 151 employees, so a full house is what?
164.
164?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other last thing is that losing 6, gaining 7, is there any particular trend or reasoning, or is it just what? I mean, have we established that yet, or is it?
So we have some underlying trends.
Okay.
I would like to add the information that's collected through these last 6 that we've lost since the beginning of this calendar year.
Okay.
It's a mix. You know, we always hear pay is the number one problem, right? That's not typically always the number one reason why people are leaving, and so I think we need to be well aware of that to make good informed decisions. But it honestly is a grab bag of reasons why. There are some common themes, though.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Is there anything else that needs to come before call for a motion to adjourn? If not, I would call for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Farabee. Second by Mr. Stainback. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Stand adjourned. Thank you all.